Hey everyone, welcome back to It Is Well. Thank you for stopping by. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to this channel so that the next time I upload a video, you will be one of the first ones to know. For today, we will be working on a spring door wreath. I've never done one before and I've been very curious about how to make one. So I said, now is the time to go on this venture, and I wanted to bring you along with me. Like I said, it's my first one. I wasn't sure what to do or how to go about it, but I just bought a few things at the Dollar Tree, and this is what happened. I first bought the wreath form, the metal wire 14-inch form that they have there in the Dollar Tree. Here we have a bush or a bunch of the white berries. That is also found in the floral section of Dollar Tree. Along in that section, I also bought these yellow orchid-like flowers that are a bunch in one stem that I like quite a bit. I also ended up buying 2 bunches of the ferns that were available, and if you notice, these ferns have different sizes, color shading, and in some of their tips they kind of change a bit as well. I also bought 7 of these beautiful white large flowers. I immediately fell in love with them and said they need to be in my wreath. Next, I bought 2 different types of ribbon. One was the wider burlap ribbon, which is a 2-inch wide, and then I also bought this kind of embroidered ribbon as well, and they're both 9 feet long. I bought 2 of each. I also bought 2 packs of glue sticks, and I already had my glue gun that I had bought a while ago at Dollar Tree, but it is time to replace it, and you'll see in my video I have issues with the glue. To help me cut some of these flowers off of the bunches or off of the stem, I bought the wire cutter, but if I may be very honest, this wire cutter was not very good. I do not recommend. Here I start gathering all my supplies, and as you can see, I'm laying them out in the counter, or on the counter, sorry, and I'm not quite sure yet at this point what I am doing. But I just wanted to show you all that I had so you could get a good visual of what it took to make this wreath. Now, after having made my wreath and being done with it, and I have my final product, I can honestly tell you that I had more than enough supplies for my wreath, and I think actually I can make a second wreath out of it. My little one wanted to help me make this wreath, and I let her help just a bit. So if you see any little hands around, it is her. So I said, with the extra supplies that I had left over, I offered for her to make herself or make us a wreath, and she could totally have her own handle, her own rays on it, and so that would be a project to see. As I said before, I had a glue gun that I had purchased before, and so I was working with that, trying to get it connected. I decided to start with using the wide burlap ribbon, and I wanted to put glue on one of the metal wires, the middle ones. But as you can see here, I'm struggling with my gun. Every time I press the button for the glue to come out, it just wasn't going through. After fidgeting with it for quite a bit, I noticed that the end that is closest to the back of the gun was in a weird shape, distorted kind of, and it wasn't going to pass through the little loop from the little trigger. So after a while of struggling with it, I finally stopped wrapping this ribbon here on the metal wire, and I take a break just to fix the gun. And all in all, you'll notice that the gun is not fixed. What I end up doing is basically I end up pushing the glue through by using another glue stick to make that push of the previous stick that's already warmed up, so that the glue could come out. So I do need a new glue gun. But as you can see, we move forward with the project. I'll try to be quiet now so that you can see all that I did so far. now that the form has been covered with the burlap ribbon, it was time for me to figure out how to get the greenery on. I used the fern leaves for the first part that I added on to the wreath. I just noticed that I could see my husband cooking on the side. He was just starting dinner. And so if you see anything on that side of the counter, he didn't realize that I had the camera facing that way, or that he could be seen at all through the camera. So going back to the wreath, I started hot gluing the stem part of the fern. I took some of the longer leaves, and the idea behind how I was deciding to glue this, I thought of probably doing it in a V shape, because I didn't want to do a full wreath covered with flowers. I wanted to do like that half wreath look, but it ended up taking its own shape at the end, and you'll see. But that's pretty much was my plan, to do a V shape with the ferns, getting the longest ones towards that, going in towards the exterior, so that it could kind of fall over on the sides. Next, you can see I pulled apart the flower from the actual stem, and I put glue at the base of the flower, a good amount of the glue, and pressed it onto the wreath. And I did that for several of the flowers that came next. Since my flowers were big, I noticed that I had to expand the greenery part a bit, and you'll see me adding more fern and also using some of those leaves that came in the stems of the flowers. You could easily pull apart the flower, you could easily pull apart the bunch of leaves that's connected to the stem. It was pretty simple, just with a light tug or with a simple firm tug, you were able to pop it out, and it still stood in good shape that you could work with it. And so that's what I did there. Next, I wanted to add those yellow flowers that I had in a one stem. I decided to kind of split the stem in half. If you notice, the larger flowers are towards the base of that stem, and the small flowers are towards the top part of the stem. So I grabbed the top half, and I kind of first placed it on the wreath to see where it is that I wanted to glue it onto. And once I found the perfect spot, I just put the glue on and repositioned it back to where I had thought it was a good position for. I'm also bending the stem a bit to kind of give it a shape, so it goes a little bit with the shape of the wreath, the roundness of the wreath, but at the same time allowing the flowers to give it the volume that I needed. Guys, I have to say how funny I find it right now to see my husband cooking on the side of me, and he has no idea that he's being recorded. Mind you, I am mentioning to him as he's putting the stuff, I'm telling him, be careful that you're not in the view of the camera. He's like, and so he thought he wasn't, and I find it really, really funny. Don't know why, but it's just funny. So in my mind, I had thought that I was going to do the wreath. Don't know exactly how do you call it, but I was interested in doing the wreath where half of the wreath would be with the greenery and the other half would be more of a bare look or a naked look. And so I was thinking that the flowers were going to be towards the left of the wreath and the right side was going to be the bare side. But my little one suggested of putting the berries in a way that would actually end up making, to her, she said, making the wreath look more like it should be on the bottom, the greenery. And so we changed our minds, and so our wreath then is full of greenery, and the florals are on the bottom, and the bare part is towards the top. So here I'm showing you the 3 ribbons that I cut. That was the extra burlap ribbon that I had, and so I'm kind of closing it as a circle. And guys, whoa, I burned my finger quite a few times doing this wreath. That hot glue goes through that ribbon like no tomorrow. So luckily you don't hear me saying ow, ooh, ah every time I kept burning my hands. So every time you see me take my hands out, or where I'm picking up my hands or shaking my fingers or in hands, it's because I've been burned and I'm trying to get some of that glue off to alleviate that burn. So there, I took the wide ribbon. After I closed it as a circle, I decided to fold it a little bit like an accordion at the center. Then I positioned it on top of 2 ribbons towards the center of those 2 ribbons, put the hot glue, and then I loop over the embroidered ribbons to kind of secure it together, or secure it closed so that the ribbon does not end up opening. Then I end up doing a knot to just give it additional support, and I wanted the embroidered ribbon to kind of be dangly. I thought first that I wanted to do a bow with the embroidered ribbon, but then I noticed that it didn't stay with its shape because there was nothing to support the shape, whereas the burlap ribbon is a ribbon that has wire in it, so it will keep its shape once you shape it to how you like. I then took these hanging ribbon and I cut the tips, cut them at an angle, and made sure that they were as even as possible. Now that I've kind of shaped the bow how I wanted it, I set it aside and got the last embroidered ribbon and turned my wreath upside down or backside front, applied some of the glue, and positioned the 2 ends of the ribbon on the glue so that that ribbon would then end up making a loop or a tie or holder fastener for the wreath. And then I put lots and lots and lots of blob of glue and waited for it to dry some. Now you see my little one, she's in the kitchen as well. She kind of left me when she found out the food was about to be served. She was ready to eat. Next you see I finished putting on that part of the ribbon that was going to hold my wreath up, and now I am applying glue to the back of the bow and positioning it to the wreath. And so that would show you that it is my topper. And I thought that you would be able to see the whole thing here, but I realized that the angle was not okay. Here's the final result. There you see, I've hung my wreath on my door, and I absolutely love it. For being my first wreath, I am very, very proud. I'm sure that with more practice and with just doing more opportunities to create my own wreaths, I will get better at it and will become more creative at it. But I do like the way this one came out, so I'm pretty happy. And my little one is happy because she got to help as well, so we're all happy with it. Hopefully you have somewhat of an idea of what to do with your own wreath. This, like I said, I've never done one before, so this is just something I kind of compiled in my head on what to do. Not sure if it was the right thing to do, but it worked for me. I'm happy with my end result. I look forward to seeing what you put or what you create. So if you create your own wreath, please feel free to let me know in the comments. If you could show me pictures or just comment below what you use to make your wreath. I'm really interested in finding out, so please share with me your thoughts, your ideas, your creativity, and your DIYs. As you know, I always like to incorporate a verse in my videos, and just so you know, I will try to do verses most of the time. Sometimes I'll just put something inspirational, but for the most part I plan to put Bible verses at the end or before at one point in my videos. And so for today, I'm adding the verse that is related to the door, or what the door signifies. And since we are also in the spirit of spring, we are also in the holiday of Passover and Easter, I wanted to get a verse that kind of pulled in some of what's going on for today or for this season. So with you for today, I leave the verse found in Revelations chapter 3, verse 20. And it says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me." As you see, this clearly talks about a door. Now, usually when there's a door, that means that there's two sides, or there's two people or groups of people. There's someone standing on one side and another person standing at the other side. In this verse, we could apply it that God is standing at one side of the door and we are at the other, and He waits patiently, knocking, waiting for us to open up the doors of our hearts to Him. He won't force Himself in. He's not to be like that. But He patiently waits for when we decide to open up that door. Sometimes life circumstances, things that we've gone through, disbelief has been created in our hearts. We've been burdened by worry, by grief. We've been burdened by hardship, and it's made our hearts hard. It's made our hearts of stone. It's made our hearts not want to open the door to Him or to anyone. Sometimes we refuse to be vulnerable. We refuse to let anyone in because we do not want to be hurt. We do not want to go through what we've been through before. And sometimes that is what gets in the way of changes in our life. Sometimes that's what gets in the way of our growth, of our progress. Today, I invite you to take the opportunity, look within yourself, allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to not only hear the knock, but walk to that door, open it, and welcome Jesus into your life if you haven't done so. And if you do have Jesus in your heart, but you're struggling with your faith, invite Him in to not only be your guest, but to be your provider, to be your comforter, to be your voice when you have none. And let Him work in your home in the need that you have in this season. With that being said, happy Easter, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.